This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so now we'll see the temporal and infratemporal region part 1. So in this topic we are going to see only about the boundaries and contents. Detail about the contents we will see in the next class. Okay, so already you know you have learnt in the norma lateralis about the temporal region. Okay, so it is situated on each side of the head, above and in front of auricle. The floor of the temporal region is called as the temporal fossa. So it communicates below with the infratemporal fossa. You can see through a gap just behind the zygomatic arch. Okay, so the temporal region boundaries are formed above by the superior temporal line, below by the zygomatic arch, anteriorly by the zygomatic and the frontal bone, posteriorly by the inferior temporal line and supramastoid crest. So the floor of the temporal fossa is formed by the frontal bone, parietal bone, the squamous part of the temporal bone, and greater wing of sphenoid. So it is limited below by zygomatic arch, above by the superior temporal line. Okay. So now if you see the layers of soft tissue in the temporal region, there are 6 layers from superficial to deep. So this is almost similar to the layers of scalp, but little difference is there. So from superficial to deep, you see the first layer will be the skin, the next will be the connective tissue, and the third layer will be the extension of the epicranial aponeurosis, you can see. The fourth layer, which is in green color here, this is the temporal fascia. The next layer will be the temporalis muscle. Then you have the skull, which is covered by the pericranium. So these are the layers of soft tissue in the temporal region. Next, if you see about the contents of the temporal region, this is different from the layers. So the contents of temporal region, if you see the first content is, here is the temporal fascia. You can see the white color structure, this is the temporal fascia. So deep to the temporal fascia will be the temporalis muscle. This is the, you can see the temporalis muscle. And the third one will be the deep temporal nerve and arteries, that is including veins, that is vessels, deep temporal vessels. You can see the deep temporal nerve, which is a branch of the anterior division of mandibular nerve, and deep temporal artery is a branch of the maxillary artery. So always the nerve will be accompanied by the arteries. You can see it goes just deep to the temporalis muscle and supplies the temporalis muscle. Okay. And next content is the superficial temporal vessels. Superficial temporal artery is a branch of terminal branch of the external carotid artery. And the fifth one will be the zygomatic temporal nerve, which is a branch of the maxillary nerve, zygomatic branch of the maxillary nerve. And the last and sixth content is the auriculotemporal nerve, which is a branch from the posterior division of the mandibular nerve. You can see here. It's actually, it arises in the infratemporal fossa and it winds around the neck of the mandible and it enters the temporal region to supply the skin of the temple. Okay, so these are the contents of temporal region. So the first one will be the temporal fascia, next will be the temporalis muscle, the third one will be the deep temporal nerve and vessels, and the fourth one will be your superficial temporal vessel, and the fifth one will be the zygomaticotemporal nerve, and the sixth one will be the auriculotemporal nerve. Okay, so the contents will be taken detailedly in the upcoming sessions. Now I am going to take detailing only about the temporal fascia. So what is temporal fascia? So temporal fascia is a tough fibrous sheet which covers the temporalis muscle in the temporal fossa. So which is attached above to the superior temporal line. So below it is attached to the zygomatic arch. If you see in the upper part, it is a single layer, but when it comes lower, it comes down, it splits into two layers, superficial layer and deep layer. So both the layers are attached to the inner and the outer lip of the zygomatic arch. Okay. So above it is attached to the superior temporal line, below it splits into two layers and it is attached to the zygomatic arch. So in between the two layers, some structures will be there. They are the fat superficial temporal vessels and zygomatic temporal nerve will be there. Okay. And the deep surface of the temporal fascia, you can see it is related to the temporalis muscle, so which also gives origin to the temporalis muscle. And if you see morphologically, this temporal fascia, it represents the cell of a bone. For example, in tortoise, you can see the cell. That is nothing but the modification of the temporal fascia into bone. So it forms a bony tunnel and covers the temporal fossa. Okay. So I think you're clear about the temporal fascia. So you can see the attachments here or temporal fascia to the tips of the zygomatic arch. Okay, and you can even see the communication of temporal fossa with the infratemporal fossa in this picture. So in the next slide, we will see the relations of the temporal fascia. So you have the superficial relation and the deep relation. So superficially, it is related to the superficial temporal vessel. And you can see the auriculotemporal nerve here. This is the auriculotemporal nerve, and this is the superficial temporal vessels. The remaining branches, what you are seeing is the branches of the temporal branches of the facial. Okay, so there are three superficial relations of temporal fascia: superficial temporal vessels, auriculotemporal nerve, temporal branch of facial. Okay, so next, if you see the deep relations, temporal fascia is deeply related to the temporalis muscle. Not only it is related, it also gives origin to the temporalis muscle. Okay. If you see the clinical importance of the temporal fascia, so it is used as a graft in ear surgery. So in ear surgery, which part? That's used as a graft for the tympanic membrane. In tympanoplasty, they are using the temporal fascia as a graft. Okay. So that's all about the temporal fascia. So other contents I'll take in the next session detail, because here and there it will come in the infratemporal fossa. So if you see about the infratemporal region, I already said it is an irregular space just behind the axilla and below the temporal bone, and also it is situated below the middle cranial fossa. If you exactly see, so it is a place between pharynx and the ramus of the mandible. Okay. So above it communicates with the temporal fossa through a gap behind the zygomatic arch. Okay. If you see the boundaries of the infratemporal region, this is the inferior view of the skull. So you can see the boundaries here. So this is the, this part is the infratemporal surface of greater wing of sphenoid, and this is the crest. Okay, so that is this is called temporal crest, which separates the temporal fossa from the infratemporal fossa. Okay, so now the roof of the infratemporal fossa is formed by infratemporal surface of greater wing of sphenoid. So it is pierced by two foramen. One is the foramen ovale, foramen spinosum. So foramen ovale transmits the mandibular nerve. That is male structure, or it is otherwise called male structure. So male means M for mandibular nerve, which is a branch of trigeminal, A for accessory meningeal artery, L for lesser petrosal nerve, E for emissary vein. Okay. So the mnemonic is male or male. You can keep anything. So male, M stands for mandibular nerve, A for accessory meningeal artery, L for lesser petrosal nerve, E for emissary vein. And this foramen spinosum transmits the nervus spinosus, which is a branch of the mandibular nerve. Okay. So this foramen spinosum transmits the nervus spinosus, or it is otherwise called meningeal branch of the mandibular nerve. Okay. So this is about the roof. So next we'll see about the medial wall. Okay. So as I said previously, the floor is open. Okay, the roof is formed by infratemporal surface of greater wing of sphenoid. The floor is open. The medial wall, if you see, the medial wall here, it is formed by the lateral surface of lateral pterygoid plate of sphenoid bone. Okay, so it is separated from the anterior wall by a fissure. This fissure is called as a pterygomaxillary fissure. The fossa inside is called pterygopalatine fossa. Okay, now I think you are clear about the roof, floor, and the medial wall. So next we'll see about the lateral wall. The lateral wall is formed by the ramus of the mandible. Okay, and the anterior wall is formed by the infratemporal surface or posterior surface of the body of maxilla. So it is separated from roof by the inferior orbital fissure. This is the inferior orbital fissure, and this part is the roof of the infratemporal fossa. Okay. So next, if you see the floor open, it extends up to the level of the base of the mandible. And if you see the posterior wall, it is formed by the styloid process of the temporal bone, and even the carotid sheath also contributes to the boundaries of the infratemporal fossa. So I think now you are clear about the boundaries. So once again, I'm repeating, anteriorly formed by the posterior surface of the body of maxilla. So posteriorly, it is formed by the styloid process and carotid sheath. So the roof is formed by infratemporal surface of the greater wing of sphenoid. The floor is open. The lateral wall is formed by the ramus of the mandible, and the medial wall is formed by the lateral pterygoid plate. Okay. So if you see the communications, you can see the temporal fossa communicates with the infratemporal fossa, and here the floor is open. Okay. So next come to the communications of the infratemporal fossa. So as I said previously, this is a schematic diagram of the infratemporal fossa. You can see the roof, anterior wall, posterior wall, lateral wall, and the medial wall. So the what here shown is the posterior one. So the above and medially through foramen spinosum and foramen ovale, it communicates with middle cranial fossa, and anteriorly through inferior orbital fissure, it communicates with the orbit. Okay. So medially through pterygomaxillary fissure, it communicates with pterygopalatine fossa, and from pterygopalatine fossa through spinopalatine foramen, it communicates with nasal cavity. Okay. So above and laterally, it communicates deep to zygomatic arch to the temporal fossa. So these are the communications of infratemporal fossa. So it communicates with middle cranial fossa, orbit, through pterygomaxillary fissure, it communicates with pterygopalatine fossa. From there, it goes to nasal cavity. Then it communicates with temporal fossa. Okay. So next we'll see about the contents of the infratemporal fossa. So the major contents are muscles, blood vessels, neural structures. So muscles are muscles of mastication. So that is mainly three muscles: lateral pterygoid, medial pterygoid, tendon of temporalis. Okay. And the blood vessels, if you see, maxillary artery and its branches, maxillary vein and pterygoid, venous plexus. So neural structures, if you see, mandibular nerve and its branches, cauda tympani nerve, aortic ganglion and its communication. So these are the major contents in the infratemporal fossa. So all these structures we are going to see detailing in each session. So now just I am showing the pictures of the contents. Okay, so you can see the muscles of mastication. So this muscle is the temporalis. You can see the tendon of temporalis in the infratemporal fossa. So the main muscle is located in the temporal fossa, and you can see the lateral pterygoid and medial pterygoid in the infratemporal fossa. You can see here the zygomatic arch is removed. After removal, you can see the lateral pterygoid and medial pterygoid. So the masseter is located outside the ramus of the mandible. That's why it is not included in the infratemporal region. Okay. So these are the contents, muscles content in the infratemporal fossa. So next, if you see blood vessels. So after see the zygomatic arch is cut, and again the coronoid process is cut here. The temporalis muscle is reflected above. Okay. So understand the picture first. The zygomatic arch is cut entirely here. So the coronoid process is cut, and even the head of the mandible is cut, and the temporalis muscle is reflected above. After reflecting the temporalis muscle, you reflect the masseter muscle also from the ramus. Okay. Now you can see the contents. So this is the infratemporal fossa. You can see the first foremost content here is the pterygoid plexus of vein. Okay. So after removing the pterygoid plexus only, you can see the maxillary artery and its branches. Okay. So these are the maxillary artery and its, you can see this is the maxillary artery, and you can see the branches here. Okay. This muscle is the medial pterygoid, oriented downward to the ramus of the mandible. Lateral pterygoid is oriented towards the neck of the mandible. So this is lateral pterygoid, this is the medial pterygoid. This muscle is buccinata. Okay, don't worry about this muscle. Okay, so now the next content, if you remove the maxillary artery, you can see the next layer, that is the mandibular nerve. You can see the mandibular nerve and its branches, and the otic ganglion also you can see in the next picture. So this is just you can see the otic ganglion above the trunk of the mandibular nerve, and you can see the cauda tympani nerve, other content which joins with the lingual nerve, which is a branch of mandibular nerve. So the cauda tympani nerve, even though it is a branch of facial nerve, it's an important content of the infratemporal fossa. Okay. So I think you are clear about the contents. Any doubt in this? So you have the muscles, lateral pterygoid, medial pterygoid, and tendon of temporalis, and you have the pterygoid plexus of vein, maxillary artery and its branches, mandibular nerve and its branches, otic ganglion and its communication, along with cauda tympani nerve. So these are the contents of the infratemporal fossa. So in brief, if you say, so the temporal fossa is bounded above by superior temporal line, below by zygomatic arch. So the main content here is temporal fascia, temporalis muscle, and auriculotemporal nerve. And if you see the infratemporal fossa, it is a irregular space behind the maxilla, below the middle cranial fossa. So boundaries here are laterally ramus of mandible, anteriorly maxilla, medially lateral pterygoid plate. The roof will be sphenoid, posterior will be the styloid process, and the floor is open. So with this, I'll finish this class. If you have any doubt, you can ask